Okay, we're recording. Okay, if you're getting this video from me, it's because you've either, we've chatted about Plexus, or you've maybe asked for more information about the TriPlex specifically, or you're just somebody that I care about that I think the TriPlex would really help, which pretty much includes everybody, because I think everyone should be on the TriPlex because we've seen incredible healing happen in people. A lot of people who had given up hope, a lot of people able to lose weight that they were totally unable to shed the pounds before, 15 to 30 to 60 pounds sometimes. So the reason that, and so what I'm going to talk about today is the Plexus TriPlex. So those are the three products in the TriPlex are Plexus Slim, Probio 5, and BioCleanse. The reason these three products have been able to kind of synergistically work together to help so many health complaints is because they focus on the four main issues in our culture today, the main stem of most problems, which is gut health, blood sugar balance, inflammation, and nutrient deficiency. So the first product I'm going to talk about is Plexus Slim, which is the paint drink. And like all Plexus products, Plexus Slim is non-GMO, gluten-free, plant-based, no artificial flavors, colors, sweeteners. So a lot of people say, well, how does it get its pink flavor if there's nothing artificial? So the pink color comes from beetroot. So, and the sweetness of the Slim comes from Stevia. So Stevia is different than Truvia. Truvia is synthetic, and Stevia is a plant that you can just grow in your backyard, and you can use the leaf, or you can grind that up into a powder to put into things to kind of give it a little bit of a sweeter flavor. So that's where the color and sweetness comes from in the pink drink. To talk a little bit about what the things that Plexus Slim can accomplish, I want to go over some of the ingredients and the key terms. So one thing that you're going to hear me talk about is glucose, or blood glucose regulation. And glucose is really the same thing as sugar. So when you eat starches or carbohydrates, you chew them up, swallow them, they get digested, and then they turn into glucose, and they start kind of floating around in your bloodstream. When they're in your bloodstream, glucose is completely ineffective. It does literally nothing for your body, except your body will burn that for energy before it burns fat. So floating around in the bloodstream, it's really ineffective. Glucose needs to be in the cell to do all the things that it needs to do. And that's kind of where insulin comes in. So insulin, if you think of the cell as kind of like a locked door, the glucose needs a key to get in, and that key is insulin. So glucose cannot get inside the cell without insulin. And when it's inside the cell, your body then will start burning the fat for energy instead of glucose. So the first ingredient I want to talk about is chromium, and chromium binds to insulin, and it makes it 3 times more effective. So you need insulin, because if you don't have it, if you have too little insulin, your blood sugar will spike and you'll end up with diabetes or high blood sugar. If you have too much insulin, your body kind of tricks itself into thinking that it's not sure when it's going to eat again, and you go into like a storage or kind of almost hibernation mode. So what you want to do is have the least amount of insulin doing the maximum amount of work, and that's where chromium comes in, because it binds to the insulin and makes it 3 times more effective. So then the next ingredient I want to talk about is alpha lipoic acid. Alpha lipoic acid is a really potent antioxidant, and to make sure we understand what antioxidants are, we have to kind of talk about free radicals. Free radicals are weak chemical structures or bonds that kind of attach or like hook on to a healthy cell and then destroy it. So, and there are things like pollution, smog, pesticides, radiation. Those are all examples of free radicals. So they attach to healthy cells and destroy them. Where antioxidants come in, or they block the ability of the free radical to latch on. So antioxidants are really important to protect the healthy cells that we have in our body. And it's kind of a buzzword, antioxidant. It's really been studied extensively. There was a double-blind human trial done about 7 years ago that studied alpha lipoic acid, and just alpha lipoic acid was shown to have these benefits. It can improve insulin sensitivity, which again kind of goes along with the chromium and making the insulin more effective. It can increase heart health, nerve health and decrease the symptoms of diabetic neuropathy, which is a real painful condition in diabetics. It causes like kind of a nerve shooting fiery type of pain. And alpha lipoic acid is also a natural chelator. So if you've ever heard of anyone who's had like mercury toxicity or mercury poisoning, they have to go, or they did have to go what was called chelation therapy. So chelation therapy, chelators draw toxins out of tissues or cells or structures. So if you have inflammation from an injury, a trauma, a surgery, or if you have any kind of autoimmune disease or food allergy where you have more systemic inflammation, alpha lipoic acid can be so helpful and beneficial and initiate so much healing by just naturally decreasing the inflammation of your tissues. The third ingredient we're going to talk about is green coffee bean extract. So a lot of people see the package of Slim and it says less than 2% caffeine, but then it says we have green coffee bean extract, and that's a little confusing. So green coffee bean is the same thing as raw coffee bean. They're synonymous, okay? When a green coffee bean is roasted, it turns brown and the caffeine is released. So a green coffee bean does not have caffeine. A brown roasted coffee bean, the caffeine is released. What green coffee beans do have is something called chlorogenic acid. Chlorogenic acid helps to burn fat for energy. It has been shown to help stabilize blood sugar and reduce appetite. So those are all the things that green coffee bean extract can do, which is also called chlorogenic acid. The fourth ingredient is Garcinia cambogia. Garcinia was kind of a big deal a few years ago. Dr. Oz made a big thing about it, how it can help with weight loss. And then a couple of, some studies came out that showed, hey, this maybe isn't so good for you. It can cause some other problems. So Plexus uses a patented form of the Garcinia rind. It's called citrin K. And citrin K has been shown to increase serotonin levels, which just by the nature of serotonin then decreases the appetite. Serotonin is kind of like the happy hormone. So when you're kind of more happy, you have more of a satiated feeling and you're not going to feel hungry. The 5 Plexus Slim outcomes that people talk about so frequently are these: weight loss, sustained energy, control over cravings, pain relief, mental clarity and focus, and even sleep. So like, does it do our laundry too? I mean, it just sounds like it's just too good to be true. And that's why I took so much time going over the ingredients, because I'm going to kind of tell you how these ingredients work together to help with these things. So the first one is weight loss. So like we talked about earlier, chromium really beefs up the insulin and makes it more effective. So when the glucose gets into the cell faster, your body will burn fat for energy first. Some people you may heard of, if you're anything like me, I tried it too, the Atkins diet, where you just totally deplete your body of glucose and, you just eat a lot of protein and fat. And the reason you do that is so your body will burn fat first. If there's no glucose in there, your body can't burn it. But I mean, if you've done it, you know what happens. You get a bad headache, you start to feel sick. So Plexus Slim helps you get that same outcome. It's not in such an extreme way, so it's not going to be as fast, but it's much healthier and much more sustainable. And then the sustained energy. So when the glucose gets into the cell faster, your blood sugar is balanced. And when your blood sugar is balanced, you're not having those carb crashes where, you drink a cup of coffee, which spikes your blood sugar, and then it just crashes down. So then you feel like you need something else. So you maybe eat a croissant or a donut or chips or, anything. And then you just start that cycle over again. So when it's just kind of constantly getting ushered into the cell quicker, you're just having a natural, more of a natural, no big peaks and valleys of energy. And then control over cravings. Same thing. When you eat something and glucose is kind of floating around in your bloodstream and it's not getting into the cell fast enough, there's a natural biological response that happens, and the cell sends a message to your brain and it says, feed me something, specifically sugar. It's not a willpower issue. It's not a, discipline issue. It's a biological response that happens. So when we're getting the glucose into the cell faster, and this is glucose is in almost everything. It's in fruit. It's in any starches you eat. And it's not good to just wipe out a complete food group. So what we want to do is eat those different foods and have them get to work quickly in our bodies where they're supposed to be. So when the glucose or starch is ushered into the cell faster, it's not sending that signal up to your brain saying, give me some food. So that's why you can almost be full. You can eat a big meal and then if it's not in the, if the glucose doesn't get in the cell fast enough, you can then still see dessert and be like, wow, I really need that. You know, you can still want it and have a little slice, but you may not need 4 slices. Okay, so then pain relief, alpha lipoic acid, like it is such a strong anti-inflammatory. Pain is usually caused from inflammation, and inflammation is good. If you have a broken arm or you have a big cut, your body will swell in a protective mechanism, you know, to just keep it protected and make sure you don't move it. But when you have systemic inflammation, or you have you've injured yourself in some way and it's been a while and you want that inflammation to go down, alpha lipoic acid really helps. This is especially important, especially in this kind of setting with our gut health, because the lining of our GI tract can really get inflamed, especially with people with food allergies. So this really can help decrease that inflammation also and make digestion a lot less painful for some people. And then the mental clarity and sleep again. So your brain is like a picky eater. The only source of fuel for your brain is glucose, specifically intracellular glucose. So if it's floating outside of the cell, it can do nothing for your brain. So that's the only source of fuel. So again, when it's getting into the cell efficiently, your brain has a constant supply of fuel, so you're able to think more clearly. And when you're thinking clearly throughout the day without those big ups and downs, your body is just naturally able to reset and restore itself at night. So that's Plexus Slim. The second product in the TriPlex is Probio 5. Probio 5 is our probiotic, and this works together with the Slim to work on gut health. So when we talk about gut health, what we're talking about is your GI tract, which is basically anything you eat to anything you eliminate is your GI tract. And you should have about 80% good bacteria in your GI tract and about 20% bad. And bacteria and flora are words that are used interchangeably, so I may switch back and forth, but they mean the same thing. And in our culture right now, we have about 20% good bacteria and about 80% bad bacteria. And what that is causing then is also like, the Candida in our body, Candida yeast, is wreaking havoc on our body because we don't have enough good bacteria to kind of keep it at bay. It's really overgrowing. And that's why, a lot of times if we get put on an antibiotic, which is important if you have a tooth infection, you've got, you need to kill that extra bad bacteria, but it's not specific. So it kills that bad bacteria, but then it also kills the good bacteria. And so when you wipe out even more good bacteria, some people have even more of a yeast overgrowth. So it's important to keep that balance in our bodies. And one reason is our gut health. 80% of our immune system comes from our gut health. I mean, that's huge. And 70% of our serotonin comes from our gut. And, years and years ago, this was kind of like an Eastern thing. Nobody really gave much credence to it. And then some of the holistic physicians and then the chiropractors, and now it's just accepted in the medical community as a fact that a lot, if not all, of our health stems from our GI tract. So some of the things that are flipping that 80 to 20% are, like I said, like antibiotics. If you've ever been on an antibiotic, it wipes out the good and the bad. Steroids are like fuel to the fire for bad bacteria. Our diet, even if you're crunchy, even if you eat really clean, there are still a lot of things infused into our diet and have been for years, into our meat and dairy, hormones, antibiotics, growth things. I mean, just gross. And so that also flips the bacteria around. It kind of feeds into that bad bacteria and decreases the good. And then our diet. We are a very sugar consuming culture, and bacteria and yeast love sugar. So if you're like making bread and you have yeast in water, you add sugar and it activates it. So you kind of set yourself up in this really bad cycle. You have yeast in your body, you eat sugar, the sugar makes the yeast grow, the yeast craves sugar, and then so you've got that going against you too. So we're really kind of have set ourselves up for a really unhealthy body. So, and a lot of probiotics have great strains of good bacteria. Like they can have I've even seen 12 strains of good bacteria, and that's awesome. But if you're not addressing the root cause, which is the Candida overgrowth, then you're just kind of pouring good on top of bad. So our probiotic is like a 3-in-1. We have 5 great strains of healthy flora. We have a real specific enzyme that I'm going to talk about, and then we have an antifungal. So I'm not going to go over all 5 of the good flora that we have, but I'm going to mention a couple. The lactobacillus and acidophilus are like the frontline defenders against a lot of infection, and it decreases the pH of your GI tract, which makes it a really not fun place for those really bad organisms to live, so they don't thrive. And then bifidobacterium is another good one that's been studied and has been shown to actually even help with lactose intolerance, because it heals the inside of your GI tract. Okay, so the Candida, this is the enzyme, the patented enzyme I'm talking about. So if you think of Candida yeast like a beetle, like the shell is really hard and it's protective. It's protecting the the yeast inside. So the shell is made up of chitin, protein, and cellulose, and it's really hard. So our probiotic has a blend of enzymes, and it's chitinase, protease, and cellulase, and they specifically target the Candida shell, so then it can get in there and fight the Candida and kill the Candida. And then we also have a very strong antifungal, which is vitamin B6 and grapeseed extract are really strong antifungals, and those are both in there. And a lot of people ask me, well, Ellis, it's not refrigerated. I mean, aren't refrigerated probiotics the best? And the short answer to that is no. Probiotics especially, so ours is a multi-strain probiotic, which means we have more than one strain of good flora, 5 to be exact. So if you have a live, and when ours are packaged, there's 2 billion live CFUs that are freeze dried at the time of packaging of the Probio 5. So if you have a live culture like a yogurt that has to be refrigerated, and you have 5 strains in there, what happens is each strain of bacteria wants to run the show. So they will actually compete against each other. So if you have a multi-strain, live refrigerated probiotic, you don't know how much of each strain you're getting. So you may get all of one strain. One strain might just take over and kind of turn everybody else into that one strain. Or you could get 5 kind of ineffective amounts of probiotics. So you don't know what you're getting. Our probiotic is, like I said, it's freeze dried, and it's packaged in such a way that it actually lays dormant until when it hits the large intestine, it activates. And then so you know exactly how many of each good strain of probiotics that you're getting. And the last one I'm going to talk about is BioCleanse. And I heard somebody say that BioCleanse is like Robin to Probio 5's Batman. And I love that, because if you're doing all of this with the Slim and the Probio to get your gut healthy, and you're not eliminating efficiently and effectively, then a lot of those toxins will just get reabsorbed. So they really go hand in hand. BioCleanse is a daily magnesium supplement, and almost every cell in our body needs magnesium, and 9 out of 10 Americans are deficient in magnesium because there just aren't a lot of food sources that have adequate amount to give us what we need. Magnesium deficiency shows up in things like heart palpitations, anxiety, muscle aches, and things like that. It's kind of a natural smooth muscle relaxer, which is how it helps you eliminate efficiently. So it's a natural laxative. It's been shown to increase bone density. So the Probio, the Slim, and the BioCleanse are just 3 really awesome supplements that I take every day. Most of my family members take every day, and almost everyone I love, I'm trying, either they are taking it or I'm really working on getting them to take it, because we've just seen incredible healing come from them. So if you have any other questions, just let me know. Please do your research. Look up gut health, look up leaky gut, blood sugar balance, all of those things, and you'll see that more and more research is leaning toward that really being the root of a lot of our problems. Plexus Worldwide, this is all my opinion. I'm a registered nurse, and this is from me. I do not speak for Plexus Worldwide. But I just do your research and see what you see. I mean, it's helping people with allergies, with autoimmune diseases, all the way to increasing hair growth in people. I mean, it's just kind of crazy, but it's doing so many things. So, I hope you take the time to do your research, and I'm sure you're going to end up loving it just as much as we do. Have a blessed day.